The banks have eyes. They watch what comes into our accounts, keep tabs on what goes out, and constantly monitor our finances to ensure they add up.
Why? Well, partly because of the growing risk of fraud, estimated to cost the UK £73 billion a year. It's no wonder banks want to stamp it out. But what if in their eagerness to tackle fraud, banks actually end up treating victims like criminals?
That's how Barclays customer Peter Ward has been left feeling. When the bank suspected fraud on his account, they banned the disabled pensioner from accessing his own money for 11 days.
This restricted availability of money for my wife and I for purchase of groceries, and I had no assurity of continuance of payment of bills or anything. There was no explanation forthcoming.
So what was the fraud exactly? There wasn't one. Suspicions had been raised because Peter had simply forgotten to log out of his online account.
Because I haven't logged off, you've given me all this distress, this upset. I've done nothing wrong, and there is no reason why anybody should restrict me from having my own money.
Richard Emery is a card fraud investigator. How does he think the bank acted?
I think Barclays have treated him completely unfairly because they didn't investigate the matter before making a vital decision. It can have an impact with direct debits and standing orders not being honoured. Just 11 days is enough to cause major problems.
Although there was no fraud in Peter's case, the crime is widespread. More than a quarter of adults in the UK are thought to have experienced it. But if there's fraudulent activity on your account, you may be suspected of involvement yourself. For many, there'll be no explanation. For some, there could be no account.
You see, under anti-money laundering laws, banks don't have to tell customers why their account has been closed or frozen, in case they tip off fraudsters. And once you've been refused an account by one bank, you're more likely to be turned down by other banks too.
That's what happened to one customer of this high street giant. Rajesh Kaushal applied for a job and passed on his bank details for salary purposes. But he later discovered that the company he was dealing with were scammers who were trying to use his account to launder money.
I straight away called the bank, I got in touch with the police, I got in touch with Action Fraud. And, end of the day, my bank account got shut down, and I was not able to open any bank accounts anywhere with any other banks, and I didn't know where to go.
NatWest suspended his account for almost 2 months, only reopening it after Rajesh complained to the Ombudsman. During all that time, he was unable to bank with anyone else.
If one bank thinks that you are guilty of fraud, it will be virtually impossible to open an account with any other bank until you've cleared your name. In this particular case, it was resolved quite quickly, but it still indicates that the banks failed at the very start of the process to investigate it properly.
I think I wasn't treated fairly. I'm the one who actually told them about the scam, and end of the day, I was the one who was treated as a criminal.
So are banks treating innocent customers fairly when they're suspected of fraud? The new Financial Conduct Authority, set up to police standards in the industry, has been looking into complaints.
The current system is clearly not fair. What shocked us was that people who are in this situation are being suspected of a crime, and yet they have no way of justifying what they were doing, explaining what was happening, and appealing and getting a judgment. So in our view, it's completely against the principle of natural justice.
The FCA is currently in talks with all the major banks to find a way to tackle the problem. But the complaints still keep coming. NatWest suspended 17-year-old Jordan Rule's account in April. 1 month on, it remains frozen.
One day I got 4 cards off NatWest, and I went into the bank and I asked what it was, and the woman said to me that it was a computer error, so I just thought nothing else of it. Then a couple of weeks later I received a letter saying that they're going to close my account within 14 days as that fraudulent activities had been going on.
Jordan had received the cards because criminals had opened 4 accounts in her name, using them to obtain payday loans. Even though she's too young to take out those loans herself, NatWest still suspected she could be behind the fraud.
It's caused me so much stress as I've had my exams coming up, I've had an operation, and that everything's just been piling onto me at once. And with this, it's just something that I've not experienced before as I put my trust into this bank.
Jordan is being treated completely unfairly by the bank. There is no evidence at all to say that she opened those 4 additional accounts. They have no evidence that we have seen to show that she has acted fraudulently. If she doesn't have a reference from NatWest, she will find it virtually impossible to open a normal standard bank account anywhere else in the UK.
Frozen out by one bank, banished by them all. If fraudsters target your account, you could be left in the financial cold, as well as being kept in the dark.
The one thing that is absolutely consistent is the bank's failure to provide adequate information. All they are doing is hiding behind an unwillingness to disclose information that would allow the customer to clear themselves. It's like being charged with a crime and then not being allowed to defend yourself.
Riz Latif reporting there. Well, we've since spoken to Barclays, who blocked Peter Ward's account. They say they never freeze or close an account lightly. The reasons are varied and can include suspected fraud, suspicions of money laundering or even terrorism. They say the laws in some of these areas are very clear about their obligation not to tip off customers, and this prevents the bank giving them a reason. They recognise this can cause inconvenience, but unfortunately it's the price of compliance with law and regulations. Peter Ward, of course, was very badly inconvenienced, and he was an innocent customer.
NatWest?
Well, again, they say they don't take these decisions lightly, and based on their investigations and the information they currently have, they stand by their decision to close Jordan Rule's account. They'll be happy to look at her case again if she has any new information. But they've apologised to Rajesh Kaushal. They say he did the right thing by reporting fraud to them, but then they made a mistake by closing his account. They've compensated him, assured him his credit rating won't be affected, and say the case has helped them improve the way they investigate fraud.